Board games often get a bad rap as being these slow, plodding affairs in which you trudge across a map exchanging wheat for barnacles or managing the tax reforms of a 14th century pickle house, but they're not all like that. Some board games concern themselves with high-octane, pulse-pumping action. They're about pushing the limits and rolling the dice, and they are about going f***ing fast. There's no arena where going fast is more important than in racing, and our first game, Heat Pedal to the Metal, might just be the purest and most quintessentially racing game that exists on the market today. Set in the haze of some heady mid-century golden age of racing, you and your friends will be jumping into classic Formula One machines and slamming the gas on tarmac tracks around the world, from the grey and wet conditions here in the UK to the beating sun and gorgeous sights of Italy. In classic cars that look more like coffins on wheels than the slick, spoilered monsters of modern racing, players will have to carefully manage a deck of cards that contains a set of different potential speeds that they can reach on the track. You play a card with 3 on it and your car moves 3 spaces forward. It's pretty simple. But when you're bolting at top gear down the straight edge of the track, the crowd just a multicolored blur beside you, you might think, wow, this game is a doddle. As long as you play the cards with the biggest number, you're pretty much guaranteed to be in front. But wait a second, there's a corner coming up and you're going really fast. Are you going to make...
Back on track on the soft tires.
Oh, he's not enjoying this. Oh! Wow, we've joined him just to the point where he lost the back end of the car coming into the paddock.
Yes, Heat is a game about going at blistering speeds, but it's also a game about control and your ability to manage the relationship between those two things. Every corner in Heat has a speed limit, as denoted by the speedometer by the corner line, and if you've moved more than that many spaces before crossing it, then you're in danger of spinning out. So let's shift our focus to the gearbox. Americans, you might find this bit a little bit confusing. These are your gears, and the gear number you're in tells you the exact amount of cards that you have to play on your turn. So if you're in 4th gear, that's 4 cards. If you're coming up to a corner with a speed limit of 4, and the lowest card in your hand is a 3, well, you might not want to be in 4th gear then, partner. At the start of each round, players all decide if they individually want to change gears. You can go up or down 1 gear at a time, or you can stay in the gear that you were in last round. Once your gear is set, you then have to play an amount of cards from your hand equal to the gear number you're set at. So 2nd gear means 2 cards, no more, no less. You add up all the cards that you've played in the round to determine how far along the track your car moves, swerving around your competitors and bridging the distance between you and first place. At the end of a move, if you've found yourself crossing the corner line, you'll need to compare the amount of spaces that you've moved with the speed limit of the corner. So for every 1 space over the limit you traveled this turn, your engine will start to overheat, hence the name of the game. Heat is a resource that your car can burn, represented by these fiery orange cards sat in a pile in the center of your playboard. For every point of speed over the limit when you cross a corner, you can spend 1 heat from your engine to avoid spinning out and drastically slowing your car down. It can also be spent when you're changing gears to shunt up or down an extra gear and quickly change pace when heading into and out of corners. Whenever you spend a heat, you move one of these cards from your central pile into your discard, where they'll later be shuffled into your deck and start clogging up your hand. Heat is super useful as a resource, but sucks to have in your hand as you can't play it on your turn and they can't be discarded at the end of your turn like regular cards. In fact, the only way to get heat back into your resource pile is to cool off in a lower gear when they pop up in your hand. Heat cards won't be the only thing clogging up your options as you race either. These stress cards add some gambling to the equation, representing a random number between 1 to 4 that you'll flip cards from the top of your deck to determine. There's already a few in your deck at the start of the race, but as things go wrong, you start to acquire more of them. Like Heat, these cards can't be discarded, and at some point, you'll have to play them to get them out of your hand. These systems all combine to create a tight game of hand management and pushing your luck that feels as thrilling as drifting around a corner at way too high a speed and just getting away with it. The game also adds other small touches like the ability to slipstream behind other racers and slightly boost yourself forward at the end of a move if you're close enough to someone else's car, or weather conditions that impose penalties on the tracks and quirks on certain corners that can change how they act on certain races, like a lower speed limit than usual or a punishment for spending heat. There's also 4 different courses to race on, a campaign mode with car upgrades that you can slot into your deck in between races, and an AI driver module that allows you to really smoothly simulate other players so you can have a full race of 6 drivers, whether you're playing solo or with just a couple of friends. If you want pure, simple, but electrifying fun racing on your tabletop, then Heat really is just the best option. It's light enough to teach to the family with enough optional complexity to add in that makes it an absolute joy for more experienced board gamers. It's also very pretty, so that's a plus. Now, if you're looking for something perhaps a little bit more bombastic, you probably already know Rebellion, the publishers of this next game, from this, or this. But did you know that they make tabletop games too? If Heat is like the Gran Turismo of racing board games, then Joyride Survival of the Fittest is like Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing. Sick drifts, firing rockets at your opponents, and wacky courses. Rather than smooth sailing around a straight track, Joyride says to hell with barriers and opens up an arena to you with a number of checkpoints for players to race between. You need to hit the checkpoints in the right order to finish a lap, but the way in which you get between them is absolutely up to you. This game is about bouncing from checkpoint to checkpoint across a map littered with old junk, tires, and dangerous ramps, crossing from one track to another. Sometimes doubling back on yourself or sneaking through tight corners and obstacles to eke out an advantage against your competitors. Speaking of your competitors, the piles of rusty metal littering the course aren't the only things that you're in danger of slamming into. In Heat, effortlessly gliding past your fellow racers and leaving them in your dust without so much as a scrape is assumed. In Joyride, it's a luxury. You're far more likely to collide headfirst into someone's bumper or cleave through the side of their hood, spinning them out of the way. Maybe Joyride isn't like Mario Kart, maybe it's more like Burnout? Alright, enough about video games, let's talk mechanics. Joyride uses a similar gear system to Heat, but instead of the gear denoting how many pre-selected cards you'll play with static results, it instead tells you how many dice you'll be rolling instead. On your turn, you'll start with any dice you rolled in the previous round on your windshield. Every car in the game is slightly different, but they each have the same options available to them on a round. You'll first be able to lock in any dice from your windshield that you like the look of by sliding them over here on your playboard. By doing that, you'll be able to move an exact amount of spaced by adding up any dice results that you want to keep from the last round. Once you've locked in any dice that you're carrying over, you'll get the chance to change gears. Changing gears will add or remove dice from your windshield, and any that are left over after that will be rolled, providing an extra bit of movement that you'll be forced to take. You can change gear to avoid traveling too far or gear up to gain some extra distance, but all you can do is predict the results of the dice, which range from 1 to 3 movement each. Joyride plays on a hex grid, and you can have either of your 2 bits of movement, lock and roll, see what they did there, steer you one side of a hex to the left or to the right. If you're in second gear or lower, you can do this on both bits of your movement, if you so choose. Cars have to touch each sequential checkpoint in order to finish a lap, but the route you take between those checkpoints is up to you. You might blast around the wide edges of the map to maintain a high speed, or skid and slalom your way through the tight corners of the board's center to try and take a more direct but much riskier route. There's 2 maps in the base box of Joyride, the Junkyard and the Overpass, both with their own baked-in obstacles that you'll need to avoid. But the game also comes with a race guidebook that lays out loads of different modifications that you can make to the tracks by changing the locations of checkpoints or adding in new obstacles to close off routes or add extra danger to an open straight. Oh, and they also provide item pickups. Did I mention items yet? Yeah, it is like Mario Kart. Pick up a box on your travels or slide for an item checkpoint and you'll grab a random power-up from a communal pile next to the board. What items are available to you per race is decided before the game, but there's all sorts of toys to play with, like mines and rockets, airstrikes and oil spills. You've got 2 slots to carry items with you, and you can activate them whenever you like to make your opponents spin out on oil or blast them with a rocket straight to the bumper. Items are a great way to deal damage to your opponent's racers' cars, as well as just slamming into their paintwork or veering them headfirst into a wall. Whenever your car is the subject of a little love tap from someone's front bumper or collides headfirst from an obstacle or rocket, it will take damage. And damage isn't just a simple health point tracker that says you lose at the end, but an inevitable degrading of your car's systems as it's bashed to bits through the course of the race. Each point of damage is represented by these nasty squares, which you'll have to assign to the white dotted boxes on your dashboard. You'll notice that those squares just so happen to cover up some of your vital systems, like your dice locking, item slots, and even the top half of your gearbox. Your car can never fully be destroyed, but once it's reached its capacity for damage, you'll be stuck in second gear, never able to grab any items, and forced to roll almost every die you come across. Youch. And that doesn't mean you'll lose right away, it makes it much more inevitable. Joyride is the far more slapstick cousin of Heat's elegant love letter to racing. It's a sharp-edged, messy crash fest that can have you swerving around corners like a snake, slicing a line right through the center of the track and shaving minutes off your final time, and then just as easily getting spun round by an opponent trapped between 2 junk walls, like the scene from Austin Powers where he's trying to make a 3-point turn in a corridor only 2 inches wider than the length of his cart. That's not to mention all the special powers the different cars get, which set them apart, the sick as hell presentation of everything, and the modularity of the game board, allowing you to customize your own courses and have a near infinite amount of possible play spaces. It's a game that's just begging you to play it over and over again. But look, maybe you just don't like racing, right? Not every game that's about going fast is about racing. And if you're not a racing fan, but you've stuck around this long, then boy, do I have a third title for you. This next game doesn't just let you go fast in the fiction of the game itself is absolutely blisteringly quick. In fact, an entire playthrough can take all of 1 minute from start to finish. Brawl doesn't take its inspirations from crazy karting games, but it is still trying to emulate the thrill of a video game genre, and that genre is the fighting game. Street Fighter, Tekken, Super Smash Bros, what have you, games that see at least 2 fighters duking it out in hand-to-hand combat with lightning fast combos and intricate strikes and blocks. Brawl seeks to bring that incredibly complicated genre with an extremely high learning curve into the hands of amateurs whilst maintaining the high-octane, split-second decision-making it's known for. In Brawl, you won't be mashing buttons, but flipping cards from a custom deck. Each deck represents one of the many fighters from your classic character select screen, and they each have varying amounts of the same cards to make up their character's playstyle. When you sit down to play a game of Brawl, you'll start with the entire deck shuffled in your hand, save for one of their bases each laid out on the table between them. After a knock to signal that you're ready, the game begins. And this isn't a turn-based affair. Brawl plays in real time, with every decision you make happening in split seconds as the landscape of the table changes before you with every card slammed onto the board or swiped away. To beat your opponent, you'll need to assemble a bigger combo than they can muster on the bases between you. Whenever you draw one of these hit cards, you can place them onto your side of any base to score a smack against your opponent. But the color matters. Once you've placed a green hit on one of the bases, you can then only place green hits there from now on. You can even place a hit 2 of a matching color to score a double strike, but these can only be placed again on a base where you've already made a standard hit of that color. But that's not all that's in your arsenal though, because the other side of the board can still be your plaything. Any cards you have can be placed on either side of the board. You can even place a hit on your opponent's side if you notice they're getting low on a certain color, locking them out from hitting there if they can't draw the right color from their deck. More importantly, you can also use these block cards to halt play for your opponent until they can find a press to counteract them. If things ever get really bad, then the clear card allows you to literally swipe away an entire column of cards, provided it's one of the outer 2. There always has to be at least one column left on the table. Your deck will have some base cards shuffled inside that will let you now start new lines of fighting up to a maximum of 3 on the table at any one time. These cards will all come out of your deck at a blistering pace, but not always in the order that you want them to. In Brawl, your deck is held in the palm of your offhand. You can either play the card that gets flipped or discard it face up in a pile next to you. If a card is on top of your discard pile, but only on the top, then you can use it later in the game. But as soon as you cover it with another card, you'll need to get that into play before the one beneath becomes available again. Finally, at the bottom of every player's deck is a set of 3 freeze cards that you can play on a base to lock it, stopping any cards from being added to it or a player from swiping it away with a clear. Once all bases in play are frozen, the game ends and you count up the hits on each side of every base, determining the highest scorer who will then win that base. If there's a tie for most hits, the tie is broken in favor of the player whose character is printed on the base. And once all bases are counted, whoever won the most bases wins the fight. This is all very simple, even if my butchered attempts at describing it might have made it seem complicated. And if you were to play Brawl in a standard turn-based fashion like the other 2 games on the list, yeah, it would be pretty boring. But combined with the absolutely hectic real-time environment that these rules are thrust into, it becomes absolutely electric. You can blast through your deck as soon as you hit a winning position to just try and freeze your opponent out of the game before they have a chance to fight back. You can sit back and watch your opponent overcommit, then swipe their bases away with a well-timed clear to upend their strategy. You can focus all your efforts on the central base, clearing any other bases your opponent tries to play to attempt to mainline them right through the middle. There's a surprising amount of strategy that pops out of the cards at you whilst you play that you start to master as you go from game to game. And with games that only last a literal minute, it's easy to learn from your mistakes and jump right into another bout. Heck, the game plays so quickly, we could literally do a let's play right here in this list video. Secret let's play! Oh, okay.
It's fine. Ah! Wait, I want to hit you.
Okay, well. Oh, God. Why? Oh, there we go. Sure. Yes, nice, thank you. Oh God, no! I need. Oh wait, yeah. What am I doing? Shit, I can do that. I can do that. Okay.
Oh shit.
Okay.
No!
You can't block blue. There's no blue there.
You placed that before I placed it.
No, did I place
It was
that
the exact same. No, when you placed that, as I was placing that.
before? So that was already down then, because you went like that, right? So that was an illegal move. Which means I've won this base.
Yeah.
You've won this space.
Yep.
but this is a draw, and that's my picture, which means that I've won that base.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so I did not realise that's how it worked.
Well, you should watch the video. People are watching right now. Secret Let's Play! Whew, thanks for watching. All these games are available in our description below. Brawl is currently out of print, I think, but you can download a PDF, which is available for free if you like, or you can pay the designers for their efforts and print it off at home to play with paper cards. Again, that link is below in the description. Thanks so much for watching this. We'll see you on the next Just for Fun video. But until then, bye!